Wow. I know you had a choice between watching the paint dry channel and watching the cat get brushed. So all four of you out there, I appreciate you. You chose well. Oh, just chased away 25% of my audience. You're gonna knock the mouse off the table, dude. All right. Let's see if we can engage with all four of the people in here right now. What if somebody held a live stream and no one showed up? Hey, John. Wow, I was beginning to wonder. We were 7 minutes into this live stream. Nobody said anything. I was beginning to wonder if we were going to have to cancel it. We had a nice rainstorm come through here yesterday. It's a little cold and windy and overcast right now, but This is supposed to be, I guess, the coolest day of the week, and then I guess we warm up into the 80s again this weekend. This week, so whatever. Yeah, I was wondering what happened, Yvonne. Nobody, I was 7 minutes into this before anybody said anything. I was wondering if there was some technical problem. Hey, Darth, haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Well, to be honest, Yvonne, you're just a number on the screen until you actually say something. It doesn't say who's here. It just says that there's 12 people or 11 people. Oh man, we're losing audience here. Hello, Gene. Yeah, you can hear the wind whipping around outside. Yeah, Bite's here. My buddy. Work's doing good. Work's doing good. It's been crazy busy. The Yesterday was a really wild day. So glad it's over. Glad I got a few days off. But it's the craziness that buys all my rocks. Maybe we'll do a split screen here. So he's just holding his head up a little bit so we can see them both. Yeah, Kara's a great person. Now I'm lagging. Oh, that's no good. I don't see anything on my end. I see Matt's video is running in the background, so playback for me is all right. Yeah, it's good to get in there because I knew what I wanted to talk to her about, and I wanted to talk to her about the history of the place, and I don't know, it's just really kind of easier to do an interview if you kind of know the person. Yeah, when I first saw that place, I was saying to myself, "Oh man, what have you gotten yourself into, Kara?" But she really turned that place around. It really looks nice in there. Yeah, she was so excited about the video too. Yeah, I got some rocks last time. There's one of them. My last video. If you saw the last video, I built the stand for that monster right there. And so, yeah, that's the beauty is that can be moved around. And then there's another piece. What was it I got? Oh, it's a it's a piece that's up in the display case there. Let's see. Like I said, I could never be a weather person and do that. It's like that big piece right there. And that one's cool because that one glows under a black light, but that one's kind of hard to get out. So yeah, it's nice. I showed it last week, so if you want, you can go check that out. I also, if you're on Facebook too, I have all my rock collection is up there. I kind of take pictures of all of it for identification purposes. It's also helpful when I'm getting something to be able to look at it and or if I'm at the store and checking something out, it's like, do I have one of those? Oh yeah, I already got one of those. Yeah, I guess we could go close up here. Hang on a second. We'll go mobile. Instead of bringing the rock to you, I'll bring you to the rock. You guys are gonna be real surprised when you end up in Alcatraz, right? All right, let's get up and move around here because we can, right? So it's this big piece back here. And like I said, it's this really, really cool because all of this black glows green. And there's some really kind of cool calcite crystals here, and they look really neat on the rock. Like I said, it's big, and I'm not going to pull it out of there right now, but yeah, that's a good one. And then while we're out here, we'll go look at this monster. We showed this last time only as pictures because it's so big. But yeah, that's what they call a banded agate. And I mean, it's a big piece. It weighs 84 pounds. And so that was the reason I really wasn't that interested in, uh, you know, setting it down or, or moving it around a lot. I didn't want to put it up on a shelf. In fact, Kara, when she had it, she didn't have it up on a shelf either. She had it on the floor because, didn't want to, break one of her shelves putting something like this on there. But this thing is really kind of a cool piece. You look, I don't know if you can even see it, but some of the crystals in there are really kind of pretty, and it's kind of hard to even decide which side to look at because it's actually kind of cool from all sides. You can see in there from the back, it's kind of cool. So I don't know. I think it's a good one. I think it's a keeper. So anyway, let's get back to our live stream position here. Get ourselves all rehooked up. That's the only problem with mobile here is I end up having to unplug. But it's all right. I'm a professional, right? Okay, that was the mouse plugging back in. Yeah, I was really surprised. The wood grain did really come out nice on that. Yeah, anytime, Darth. Well, it doesn't usually stay out there in the middle of the floor. I just pulled it out there for the live stream. It's usually up against the wall. So yeah, I would not want to. Can you imagine walking barefoot and kicking that thing? Yeah, that's gonna ruin your day. That would hurt, and not just a little. I might actually say more than ouch, Darth. The things you can't say on a family live stream. Yeah, I'm working on another video right now. It actually got hijacked by my boss's boss. So it's going to be a video on one of the processes that we perform. And it turns out we're coming into another maintenance interval in a couple of weeks. And during that time, uh, starting the last maintenance interval, the company had like a day-long training session. And uh, the last one was done entirely by the weeks are divided in half. There's A side of the week and B side of the week. I'm on B side of the week, and that's Thursday, Friday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and every other Wednesday. Well, the A side of the week did all the training last time, so it's our turn this time. And my boss heard about this video I was doing already and says, "You ought to do that for a presentation." So that's that's been pushed into high gear, and that's in process now. I actually showed the boss kind of a draft of my presentation of the stuff that I'm going to show, and he thought it was good. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I got to throw this together really quick though, and I had to teach myself PowerPoint because it's got to be a PowerPoint presentation. I knew a little bit about PowerPoint, but I've never really played with it a lot. Well, the first video took about 3 months from basic conception to final product to do. This one I'm having to do in about a third that time. I found out that this was going to happen about 3 weeks ago. So yeah, and this one's way, way more complicated. The last one was just um, a video about one of the database programs we use, and that isn't guided by any of the processes or anything that we do. This thing is very, very heavily regulated by company procedures. And my video has to be perfect because it has to exactly match what the procedure is. And so that makes it way more complicated. And then when we found out that nobody was actually following the procedure and the procedure was kind of ridiculously created and not really a practical document, they actually gave me a wide degree of latitude to propose changes to the procedure. And so, I'm taking advantage of that because there's been problems with that procedure for forever. There's some people at the company, they look at the procedure and says, that's God, that's the final word on everything. I look at a procedure and it's like, okay, that's the starting point. Well, that's sort of how it always works, Susan. There'll be 10, 20, 30 people in here, but there'll be 5 or 6 of you that are carrying the conversation, or one of you when Rhonda's here. I don't know if it's actually part of my job, but I did mention the last time I had a one-on-one with my boss's boss. He has every few months pulls us into his office and just wants to talk to us about what's going on. I told him at some point that I could see this expanding outside of the department, and me starting to do you know videos for the whole company. And it says, yeah, well, we'll see what happens. But like I said, my boss was really excited about the first video, and this guy, my boss's boss, saw a draft of my presentation, and he says, "Okay, well, I'm glad to have seen that because now I understand the process a little bit better." And that's going to be the challenge too, is making it you know not only accurate but understandable, because it's kind of a complicated process and there's a lot of detail in it. But I would guess my job is whatever I'm told my job is. But this definitely isn't something I would mind doing. And I mean, for the most part, it's almost free for me to do because the camera is already mine. Because the camera was actually a gift from my parents, and it's paid for itself many times over just in the revenue I've gotten from the vlogging. So that's free. The computer's new, and uh, that's basically something I'm going to attempt to deduct this year as in my taxes. So if I can deduct a large chunk of that, that'd be great. I don't know about showing them at any work conventions or anything like that. It'll be shown. The presentation now I'm doing will be shown in about 3 weeks. So yeah, I got a lot of work to do, but I got a lot done too. So it's just, I think now it's more just kind of tweaking it, making it look right. I don't know how I would justify that, Gene. I wish I could. I wish it was that easy. I've actually kind of decided that the telescope I have is not really worth keeping anymore just because it's kind of a toy. And I mean, it's great for looking at the moon, but how many times can you look at the moon? And yes, you can see the rings of Saturn. Yes, you can see a couple of moons of Jupiter, but that's about its limit. It was a nice toy, but if I'm going to do a telescope, I want to get a real telescope. I don't even know. I would think it was probably obsolete at the time I got it. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it was a toy, and didn't have it didn't have the ability that I would love to see in a telescope. But yeah, I'm not sure that they'll accept that kind of an answer, Gene. And if there were answers up there in the galaxies, that would just mean that they'd insist that I share it with them, and I don't know about that. Nice try, though. Well, yeah, Yvonne, yeah, I took a college class on Microsoft Office one year or one semester, and it included a 3 or 4 week segment on PowerPoint. So I knew a little bit about it, but didn't remember that much because it's not one of those, Microsoft products is something that you have to use to, remain familiar with it because it's very powerful. It can do all sorts of great things, but if you don't use it very often, you don't necessarily remember how to do it. Excel, I'm really good with like Excel because I use Excel all the time. But like I said, it's never really come up so far for that I've needed PowerPoint until now. But I knew what PowerPoint was able to do. I knew how to do the basics, and so all I had to do is just consult the help files, and I figured out what I needed to do. Oh yeah, it's definitely within my abilities. There's nothing they've asked me to do yet that I can't do, and I bet you there's things I could do that they haven't even thought of or wouldn't know how cool it would be until they actually saw it. So yeah, that was an easy decision, and that that all started when my boss found out about me vlogging, because I told you that story once, or I've told you that story before, right? Well, just between you and me, Yvonne, cost him quite a bit too. That's why it makes this job kind of fun because it is a challenge. It's hard work, but it's worth it because I'm making really good money there. So I'm really happy with them. I like my boss. It's a really ideal situation right now. And I think it's all the more astounding to me because of the fact that you know based on my experience at Disney and all that. Yeah, that'd be nice. Like I said, my last year's bonus paid for the new computer. Well, the video editing software I use now is a professional program. It's Adobe Premiere. Ironically, Adobe Premiere is the first video editor I ever had. It was the one that I edited Jordan's video for Bulletin Animation from Candyland Riots. And then I went off to the Nero stuff, and that was a really good program, a really good inexpensive program. Um, but like I said, the opportunity there was the you know, well, yeah, it started with Jordan encouraging me to vlog, but you know, it was even before that because, like I said, I knew how to edit video a long, long time ago. You know, that was back when Jordan was doing his stuff. But yeah, it probably never would have happened if Jordan didn't encourage me to vlog either. Because I wouldn't have had the camera, I wouldn't have been doing it. My boss wouldn't have discovered it. Hey, Kathy. Yeah, I saw you creep in there a minute ago and then got distracted on something else. How you doing? Yeah, that was another thing, Gene. I like Adobe too. I've been a huge fan of Adobe Photoshop for a long time, and I had just a bootleg version that I've had for 20 years. It was pretty good, but when the time came, I decided last year when I got the bonus also that in addition to the new computer, I was going to subscribe to the full Adobe suite, and so basically I have everything that Adobe makes. I don't even use most of it, but Photoshop and Premiere, I'm using those all the time. Well, it's good to have you back, Kathy. No, no music in the videos, at least not in the ones I've done so far. The ones I'm doing so far are more instructional videos. I would maybe put music in it if it was like, some sort of a promotional video kind of thing, but haven't done any of those yet. That clock is a little fast, isn't it? More than likely got it by voices. You gonna come up here? Well, he's got to come up here first, Darth. He's working on it. There we go. Darth says treat. Mike gets a treat. That's just the way it goes, isn't it, Bite? You wouldn't have it any other way, would you? Okay, that's probably enough. Probably too much almost, right? Oh, you want me to shake it? That's a joke for all of you with pets. It's funny when you said you had to wait until 4 to see it, 4 in the morning to see it. It just struck me how odd that is because everything I do now is streaming, so I can watch whenever I want. Don't have to decide on what they're going to put on. I'll put it on when I want to watch it. But see, that was because I cut the cable a while back. I have a hard time sleeping with any noise going on, so if you drop that one, you klutz. You just can't do anything right, can you? You dropped it twice in a row. What the heck? And then I wonder why I get bit, don't I? I don't know. I don't know where you did with that one. That was your fault, dude. We'll probably find it next time we vacuum the couch. What's military sleep techniques? Is that like drinking a fifth of tequila or Jack? Because that'll make me sleep, I guarantee you. All right, that's it, dude. No more. They're all done. Yeah, I don't know how much you can hear him, but he's purring pretty crazy right now. Yeah, we got the vodka. I got to put a mic on him sometime because he's got quite a motor on him. Oftentimes, I realize he's near me the first time because I hear him purring. Yeah, if you want a comparison to how big that rock is, look at Bite next to it. And that rock weighs probably 5 times what you weigh, Bite. Yeah, there's no question when Bite's purring. I honestly thought you guys could hear it on the camera. What's brown noise? I've heard of pink and white noise. Is that the sound of people farting? Twins? You mean Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger twins? I'm pretty sure it is me. How you doing, John? I don't think I've ever actually seen that one. It just didn't seem like something that would work to me. I don't know. Maybe if I found it on like Netflix or something, I consider looking at it just to see. I mean, because Danny DeVito is kind of cool. He has his moments. Yeah, I hope that you're you too, Yvonne. It wouldn't be the same if you weren't. Yeah, that's sort of what I would expect from it, Kathy. Because I guess I can't think of a movie that I would think of Danny DeVito being in where he isn't funny. It's always. I mean, even when he was like the Penguin in Batman, it was still kind of ridiculous looking. Yeah, I did see Throw Mama from the Train. That was with Anne Ramsey, wasn't it? She was Mama. I liked her. She had a couple of good films. She was in that. She was in Scrooge, which I like, and she was also in what was it, Goonies? She was great in that. Yeah, I haven't seen it since it was out either. And I've never heard of that one. Yeah, you never heard of Goonies? I think it was kind of, it was kind of geared towards kids. Kids discover a pirate treasure, and they're being chased by a couple of criminals, and Anne Ramsey is kind of the leader and the mother. Yeah, I think it was late '80s probably. I really like DeVito in uh, um, what's it called? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was great in that. I think that was like the first time I ever saw him. Of course, Cuckoo's Nest wasn't exactly a lighthearted movie, but Justin's clocks are a little fast. Hey, there's the other Gene. All right, it's a Gina Palooza. Gene, hi. That's sure better than hi, Gene. It rained a little bit yesterday here. We got about an inch, which is nice. What happens oftentimes in Texas rain is you get a lot of water in a matter of a few minutes. So you can get an inch of rain in inside of 5 minutes. That's why the gutters and the water channels around Waco are so deep because you got to deal with all that water coming real fast. And I missed yesterday's too because I was at work. I was at lunch when it happened though, so I was in the break room, so I got to enjoy it a little bit. But that's not the same as sitting on the patio cover and enjoying it at home. No, I haven't been in Kingston. What's in Hunt County, Texas? What's in Kingston? I don't even know where it is. Texas is such a big place. I'm not even sure where a lot of things are yet. Yeah, it was odd. It was odd this rainstorm because it was the type of what There's different kinds of rainstorms here. The real violent ones are usually caused by the heat and the humidity, and that's what causes the thunderstorms and all that. That's what blew through here yesterday was a thunderstorm, and so that was odd that it was you know warm enough in February to do that. But that's one of the cool things about Texas weather. It'll surprise you. I don't know. Let's see what's going on in California here. Looks like there's something going in on Northern California area. Get the maps all loaded here. Yeah, you can see a little bit there. That's kind of Northern California. You can see Sacramento and San Francisco. Looks like it's north of that, almost up on the Oregon border. Of course, that's the storm that blew through here yesterday. It's making things interesting, and looks like what Alabama and Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee. Yeah, that looks like fun. Lots of earthquakes, Darth. Lots of earthquakes. Yeah, I heard that NYC is almost frozen solid, and they're not getting the snow out of there, so it's turned into just ice. Yeah, they really stepped in it with Mondami, didn't they? Your friend's getting a lot of rain right now, Kathy. The movie or the food, Darth? They sure did, Gene. But I mean, what do you expect when you elect a democratic socialist who's basically a trust fund baby, has never done anything in his life, and believes that he can fix everything? That's a great movie, Darth. I love Escape from New York. But now it's become reality. People are leaving there. Hey, at least the snow piling up is burying the garbage, and it just looks really pretty. That place is gonna stink in a few weeks. Can you imagine when it starts getting to be summer out there and the trash is piling up? I mean, eventually, I'm hoping that Mondami will realize that he's got to do something. not just blame rich people for this. Probably the same way all the Hollywood celebrities feel about Newsom right now. Oh, he wants to run for president. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a Newsom AOC presidency? I hear Kamala wants to run again too. Did you hear that Newsom wants to forgive a years of mortgage, 1 year's mortgage from the people in the Palisades fire? Crazy. I got out of there in time. In fact, I would almost say I got out of there too late, but it was definitely the right time because, you know, dropping into this place, this, I can't say enough how much better, things are here. I don't know. We're going to see what happens with the Nancy Guthrie thing. I don't know. It's been a couple of weeks now. You wonder if she's even alive anymore. I bet whoever it was that they thought, that kidnapped her, they thought, oh, this is just going to be an easy ransom thing, and all of a sudden the president gets involved, and it's a national incident. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really paying that close attention to it. If I hear something new, then that's it. But yeah, she's still missing. I hope they find her alive, but I don't know. It's been a long time. I didn't even know they could do that, Gene. Well, I heard the sheriff has been fighting with the FBI about over jurisdiction. He just wants to take care of it herself. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, thanks. Welcome to the group, Brooks. Yeah, I just got so much stuff that I got to have on the walls here that like every inch is covered. My house is like a Chili's. Yeah, I guess I really haven't kept up on pacemaker technology. I had a friend that had hearing aids, and his hearing aids were Bluetooth enabled, and that kind of surprised me. And so what he could do is he could play music on his phone and play it right into his hearing aids, which was funny. And then it was even funnier because then his girlfriend would put her head up against his head and put their ears together, and she'd listen too. So that was really an odd thing. But yeah, technology keeps evolving. Thank you, Brooks. Yeah, I've always just been somebody that had stuff all over the walls. That's just me. In fact, I'm running out of wall space, so I'm gonna have to start cycling stuff in and out. Thank you, Gene. Yeah, it's nice to be able to move that thing around now without giving myself a hernia. I haven't followed the case that closely, but I mean, I guess I've seen a picture or two from the doorbell cam, but like I said, I'll wait until the story is over, and then I'll know the whole thing. It's not just yours, Brooks. Everyone's spell check is horrible. I've gotten to the point where I can just kind of correct it in my head. I know what you mean to say. That's sort of the philosophy behind me kind of keeping certain parts of my life a secret too. You never know. Most people are good, decent people, but there's enough weirdos out there that you got to be careful of. No, I'm more of a listen to music kind of person. Yeah, and it's been getting worse and worse lately, Gene. We've dehumanized each other so much that it makes it easy to do stuff like this. For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I don't know what we do about this. It's because it's not going to be one of these things that's going to get settled. The people that are the crazy ones, they aren't going to admit that they're crazy. They're going to think the rest of us are crazy. And unfortunately, I think there's only one path forward. It's not going to be pretty. Yeah, that's what we call it, auto crap. Right now, I've kind of reorganized things somewhat so that I bought myself some time, but there's going to need to be a another long term solution to this. So something will have to happen at some point, John. It's going right next to the front door, Kathy. That's where I normally keep it. I just moved it over here just so I could put it in the live stream. So when I tip the camera this way, everybody could see it. Yeah, that's not going to happen, John. I'm just saying. I do have a long term plan that I'm thinking about. Yeah, I wish I could play music, but I'm you know, I just have no musical talent. And trust me, my parents pushed it, you know, and it just none of it took. I mean, I guess we could go over and look at it again if you want. We showed it a little while ago, but I guess I could go mobile here. Hey, it's your live stream, right? let's unplug here and go mobile. I fiddled around with it. I have a couple of guitars. You can see them on the wall there. They're actually the red one belonged to the guitar player of my favorite band, and the black one is actually signed by the entire band. But yeah, let's go look at the rock. Oy, I'm old, sorry. Okay, I think that's about as close as I can get and get the whole thing in shape in the field here. But I like all the colors on this one. Let me get a flashlight because I think that shows the thing off really well. All right, let's see. This isn't too much. Yeah, it's a little too much. Let's try and knock down the brightness a little bit here. There, that's a little bit better. That's the annoying thing about these LED flashlights. They kind of flicker on the screen. But, you know, there's all sorts of pretty colors, different layers. This is clear. This is kind of got a green tint. You can almost really see the green over here. But yeah, there's all sorts of really cool, pretty crystals in this thing. So that's a keeper. It's called a banded agate. I got a label on here that says weighs 84 pounds, but I just realized I misspelled pounds, so I've got a T instead of a D, so it weighs 84 pounds. Guess I'm gonna have to fix that. But that's a pretty one, right? All right, let's go back to our normal broadcast position here. Oi. Yep, I'm old. No question about it. Plug up again here. Okay. If I know where it came from, no, not really. It came from Gallery 11. Now, a lot of times Kara does tell me where things come from because she knows I'm interested in that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, I tried playing that guitar a few times. I like looking at it, I think, more than anything else. In fact, let's go take a close look at that one because I want to show you something else that's really, really cool that I found out only years later about that guitar. We went mobile to look at the rock. We'll go mobile to look at the guitar too, right? That's only fair. So yeah, that's the guitar right there. And like I said, this is belonged to the guitar player who's currently still the guitar player over there named Doug Gillard. And when I bought it, he autographed it for me and all that. And we've tried playing it a few times. It's definitely got some show wear on that. But a couple of years after I got it, I realized that I have this picture here of the singer of Guided by Voices, and that's him holding the same guitar. And so I thought that was really cool. And like I said, I didn't even realize it until years after I acquired these. It just always kind of seemed to, they were never displayed together. And I just happened to be rescanning the image to put on the website, and started looking. And it's like that looks an awful lot like the guitar I have, and then I started zooming in on it, and a lot of like the flame on the wood grain here that you can see here shows up on the picture so too. So it's absolutely the same guitar, and so that was really cool. That's probably my favorite piece of the collection is those two pieces. And then, like I said, I display them together just because, you know, why wouldn't I, right? So yeah. This is why anybody who really knows me is not going to be surprised by my obsession with rocks, because it's not, rocks aren't the first thing I've been obsessed with collecting. I'm just one of those kind of people. All right, let's plug back up here, back into broadcast position here. All right. Well, you don't really have to be that good of a player to play punk. It is, what is it? It's a, let me see. I bet you can go on the website and find it here. I don't want to unplug again here. Hold on a second. Yeah, we'll do a little tour of the website here. I don't do that very much here. Okay, let's get. All right, so that's the website that my friend Matt and I did. Matt's the guy that um, does the Island Horizon videos that I have running in the background here. Let's see, audience participation. It's got to be in here. Collectibles, is it under that? No. I'm actually surprised I don't have the guitar in here. Fan stuff, maybe? No. So you'd think it would be there. Oh, that's weird. I'm surprised I don't have that. That would be like one of the first things that I have in there. Let's see, is there anywhere else here? No, I guess not. I don't know. It's weird. I have an error message on my screen I've never seen before. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, he's been doing a lot of cruise lines. I guess that's maybe his new thing. Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, rather than unplugging, we'll bring the guitar over here. That's easier to do, right? Yeah, it doesn't really say anything on the neck. On the top there, it's an arbor. Got some good show use. But yeah, it's a beautiful guitar. I got to replace one of the strings, but that's okay. It's for looking at, not necessarily playing. But yeah, there's a. It's very beautiful. It's got the mother of pearl inlays into the fretboard there, which is really cool. It's actually a lot prettier in person than it probably comes off in person. I don't know what it's worth. I know what I paid for it, but I paid not for the guitar itself, but who it belonged to. Yeah, no, you don't want me to play that. First thing, this thing's out of tune. Second, I don't have an amp, and third, I can't play. So, like I said, it's just to look at. Yeah, it's a pearl inlay. It's very pretty. You can see that one there. Get the angle just right. So very pretty. It's a keeper. And then of course this is the other one. And basically what this one's just autographed by the band. I guess the story behind this is a local radio station in Dayton was auction or giving this away as a prize. And they did an interview with Guided by Voices, and then the band was in there, and they all autographed the guitar, and then gave it away. And I guess the person that won the guitar wasn't really into it, so he sold it on eBay, and I got it. And this is just kind of a nothing guitar. It's an Epiphone Basher. So yeah, it's a nice one too. We played this one a little bit. So yeah, that's the beginning and the end of my guitar experience. It's funny too because at the same time I got the guitar, the one from Doug Gillard, I also bought the amp head that he toured with for many years, and so yeah, I own that too. And Jordan's to just spend the rest of his life on cruises. I guess I could think of a worse thing to do with your beautiful wife, right? And that's kind of really strikes me as odd, John, because I can't imagine, I couldn't imagine Jordan becoming a cruise person. That just may be Katie's influence on him. Like I said, it's more important to be able to look at him because it's some great memories. Yeah, I just never would have pegged him as a cruise person, but good for him. I'm glad he's enjoying life. He deserves it because he worked so hard to get where he is. You combine large amounts of alcohol on a cruise ship out in the ocean. You, you're bound to have someone fall overboard eventually, I guess. No, no drums. Well, I do have that dinner chime. I guess that technically is a triangle, but no, no, no. I don't have a drum set. That would be a perfect place to put a drum set, though, right there, wouldn't it? Plenty of room. No, that was sort of my parents wanted to do that. My parents always wanted us to like do extracurricular things that we weren't interested in doing. I remember, with me it was my mom and dad wanted me to do piano lessons and wasn't really into that. With my sister it was with ballet, and I remember every time she'd have to go to ballet lessons, there'd be a temper tantrum because she didn't want to go. And there was softball and there was soccer that they kind of I've never been into performing music. I've never been into performing to playing sports. It's just not my thing. But as soon as I got to the point where it was my decision to make, then I stopped doing it. Well, my dad was a singer, and of course, his parents were opera performers, like professional, and so it makes sense that that would happen. My mom, not so much, but she kind of joined my dad and got behind him in pushing us to do the music thing. And yeah, it wasn't my thing. It isn't that I don't admire people that can play guitar really, really well or play musical instruments really well. I'm just not one of them. Maybe that makes me appreciate their ability more. Hey, Breck, how you doing? Walks away for a while, goes to take a little food coma nap here, and then he's back for some pets, aren't you? You just want the brush, don't you? They have a nice farmers market here on Saturday, but unfortunately, I'm usually at work on Saturdays. Were you in celebration for Adam's thing? Yeah, whoever buys that place is gonna have all sorts of issues with visitors coming to check that place out. It's gonna almost be like Mecca. Thanks for stopping in, Brooks. It was good seeing you. Feel free to come in again sometime. Oh, I always like it when we get new fees people in here who kind of you know guide the conversation in different directions. So that's always fun. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I don't know. How long have you been in that place? Does anyone know? Yeah, that's right, Brooks. We're here every Sunday. I'm in Texas, so it starts 11 o'clock Texas time, and I usually go for about 2 hours. So definitely show up next time if you're interested. We'd love to have you. Love to make you an escapee. There's nothing like owning your own place. You know, a little over a year. That's too bad. You believe I've been in this place over 5 years now? That's crazy. Yeah, it's sad when the good ones go. Yeah, well, this place is completely mine now, so it's just a matter of me keeping up with little projects I set for myself. Yeah, I don't know what the housing market is in Florida. That was one of the things that attracted me to Texas. So I remember when I was here. In fact, I don't know, maybe that even the pictures are still in here. I have to go find them here. I still have text messages that I sent my dad years and years ago. We'll just take another approach here. There's probably a better way of doing this. Let's see, probably gotta go back a ways here. What was that? Oh, okay. Okay, I know where we are now. But it turns out like the year before uh, I moved here, well, no, a few months before I moved here, I actually came and visited. And one of the things that kind of made me decide that Waco was the place was was I was walking around looking at houses, and I was finding houses that it's like I was sending pictures of these houses and what they were going to cost. Let's see. Okay, that's there. Yeah, here we go. So like these are some of the houses that I was like looking at, and I was just blown away by the prices because like that one was 299, 2,700 square feet. That one there 329. Because that was what was blowing me away was some of these beautiful houses that you get. That one right there. Look at that house. So, and I was looking and comparing it what I was getting for houses in California and what they were selling there for. And it's like, whoa, this is really the reason this is a good reason why I wanted to, check this place out. And and then I got this one, and this one is, I think, in a nicer neighborhood and was significantly less than that. Yeah, I guess I do technically own two properties. One of them is 6 feet below the ground, though. Well, generally, when you have more demand for houses, that makes the prices go up. I think that's been a factor here in Texas because Texas is a big destination for people that are fleeing blue states, also. Yes, it is another forever home. You're right about that. Literally. I don't know. Once I move in, I think the property value will probably go down a little. I don't know. That seems to just happen. Yeah, definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made financially. And the thing is, this was sort of the grand plan too when I moved to Texas. Sell the house, find a job, buy a new house, try and pay cash for it, and then not have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. That's such a huge impact. That's the biggest expense people have is their house or their rent. I don't have to worry about that. Well, the beauty of the neighbors over at Oakwood is that they'll be quiet at night. Although it's hard to say, they lock the cemetery up at night, so you can't really get in there. Probably don't want people going in and partying at night. A lot of famous people in that place, so including people I've done vlogs on. Guy invented Dr. Pepper's there. Former Texas governor is there. Now I'm going to be there. Exactly, the guy that escaped the mouse. Yeah, well, see, that's one of the whole arguments that we use against gun grabbers here. It's like it's not the gun that's the problem; it's the criminal. If somebody wants to hurt somebody else, they can do it with a rock, which means I've got an arsenal here. Yeah, I've heard that London's got is well basically lost. Lots of places in America that are lost too, including Minneapolis. Yeah, that's what I've heard too, Kathy. It's a shame. London's such a beautiful place. I hear they're calling it Londonistan now. It's okay. We got something here in Michigan called Dearbornistan. That's the same thing. And of course, in Minneapolis, they got the Quality Learning Center. Yeah, I hope everyone stays safe. Another reason to love Waco, there's not a whole lot of that going on here. Crime's pretty low here and generally getting lower. Yes, Waco's got a few bad parts of town, but it's not the problems you see in larger cities. I mean, even when I go to like to Austin, which is like 100 miles from here, it's night and day. And if they do, they'll only do it once. They'll only argue with me once. And they'll have a very loud, very short conversation with a 12 gauge shotgun loaded with a double buckshot. Thanks for stopping in, Gene. Good talking to you again. See you next time. I don't think the problem is necessarily Muslims. I listened to a talk show host named Mark Levin, and he says most Muslims, he points out that most Muslims are indeed peaceful people. It's the Islamists that you have to worry about. It's political Islam, not the general day-to-day Muslims. Just the ones with the kind of jihadi mindset. I didn't think you could carry in London. Aren't guns all but banned in there? Another reason why I like Texas, we have constitutional carry here. So if you're not a felon, you don't even need a license to conceal and carry. I could if I wanted to. I never have, but it's an option. And I see people out there packing from time to time. Go to Home Depot and somebody's got a handgun with them. It's Texas. Yeah, that's what I thought. The guns were almost entirely banned in all of England. So instead, you got stabbings. Yeah, NYC or yeah, New York and Los Angeles. You're right. Chicago. Yeah, all the politicians get to have people with guns protect them, but you and I know not so much. Yeah, never bring a billy club to a gunfight. Yeah, unless you say the wrong thing. Yeah, I'm the same way, Yvonne. You know, my mentality is that most people are good, decent people, and so you know, if the bad people don't know who has the gun, you end up with a more polite society. You know, this idea that in the old west it was the wild west because everybody had a gun. No, it was actually the wild west. Was a very safe place because you didn't know who was packing. Generally, everybody was. Yeah, 911's a big issue with me too. I was on an airplane getting ready to go to my grandmother's funeral when it happened. I saw the second plane hit the second tower in the bar at the airport. Yeah, I never made it anywhere because you know, after the second tower was hit and we got on the plane, they made us get off because the FAA shut everything down. Yeah, I didn't make it to my grandmother's funeral because of that. Yeah, we have gun shows here. They just advertise them on the billboards here. Oh, you mean did I get my money back from the airplane? Yes, yeah, I got refunded. That wasn't their fault, but it wasn't my fault either. Well, keep in mind what happened in California only happened in like 2 decades. That's how long it takes to turn it around. Because California used to be a deep, deep red state. It just took a few years of illegal immigration, and that's it. That's why they threw open the borders during the Biden administration. They wanted to do the same thing to the U.S. that California did, because now it's a one-party state. It's even harder to believe that California went for Reagan 2 times. That was one of the biggest landslide victories ever. 49 of 50 states went for Reagan. I wasn't old enough to vote for Reagan the first time, but I was the second time, and I gladly voted for him then. Thanks for stopping in, Darth. It was good to see you again. Yeah, Schwarzenegger didn't achieve anything as a governor, and I agree. Same with Jesse Ventura. It's funny. I was in Minnesota when the whole Jesse Ventura thing was going on. I actually watched the governor debate with him, and I probably would have voted for him too. The other two candidates were just bickering with each other, and Jesse was presenting good ideas on what to do to fix Minnesota, but he didn't accomplish any of them. I know this live stream started out a little slow today, but we picked up. We're almost 2 hours in. That's crazy, huh? Well, I mean, Arnold was never a Republican. He's a Kennedy, for God's sakes. Hey, Lewis Photography, how are you? Welcome to the group. Group, this is Lewis. Let me guess, you're a photographer. Wow, 10 magazines. That's pretty cool. Welcome to Texas. Doesn't seem like there would be much of a climate difference between Phoenix and Texas. I mean, I don't talk to Jordan that much. We text mostly when we're communicating with each other. I did see him a couple of months ago because he invited me to his wedding. And that was fun to be there. The only difference is I kind of tried to move away from the city. I've kind of lived in Los Angeles area my whole life, so I wanted someplace that was a little bit smaller, and Waco just had the right feel for me. I used to visit my grandma, my grandparents on my mom's side, and they lived in a small town in Minnesota called Bram, and I just really love the feel of little small towns like that. So I think that kind of attracted me to Waco, made me make the connection with that place. Yeah, RFK Jr. has been doing a pretty good job. What he's on, on his little mission there. So you know, I support him. Make America healthy again. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some farming that went on in the area. It is. I like Waco. There's a lot of fun. It's a funky little town. I love walking around the downtown area. There's all sorts of kind of fun things to see. And yet, well, I've said this before. It's small enough to kind of have that small town feel, but big enough that it's got everything you need. Some one of the things that you ran into in Bram, there was like nothing to do there. There was a grocery store, there was like a bowling alley, and that was about it. That was perfect for my grandparents who just wanted a small town to retire and spend the rest of their lives in. But you get used to the heat though. And the truth is, I just keep the air conditioning on a lot. And so, it's always 72 here in the house. It's kind of the same way in Florida. I don't, I think Florida tends to be a little bit more humid, although we get some humidity here too, especially after it rains. But the people are cool, and that's nice. Well, I think it's a case of the grass is always greener. You always kind of crave something that you don't have. I spent my whole life in Orange County, California, and basically it was really hard to get away from everything because you leave this town, you go into the next town, you go into the next town, into the next town, into the next town. You had to drive a long ways to get out in the middle of nowhere. Um, it's not the same here in Waco. I can drive 10 minutes in any direction and just be out in the middle of nowhere. I like the ability to do that, and it's just this place is just more in tune to me. Now you look at Jordan. Jordan, who it went the other way. He grew up in a small town, Troy, Ohio, and when he moved out, he came to Hollywood, and that was what he craved, and he loved living in Hollywood. And then Hollywood started really, really going downhill, and that was when he had to leave. That's entirely possible, John. Yeah, I mean, my dad got the job at McDonnell Douglas right after, well, actually, well before I was born, right after my parents were married, basically, and he moved to California immediately to start the job, and then my mom came shortly afterwards, and then I arrived after that. But yeah, if my dad didn't have that job at McDonnell Douglas, um, my life could have been entirely different. It's funny when I was still kind of clinging on to the CD world a little bit. Before I went to Disneyland, I actually considered moving to Wisconsin to work at 3M because they had a CD replicating facility there. Didn't work out though, and then Disneyland happened, and well, you know all about that. Yeah, I think we're going to wind this one up too, Yvonne. I've hit my 2 hour mark. We're 2 hours and 6 minutes now. So we'll hang on for another minute here. Anybody else has any questions? Otherwise, we'll resume this again next week. See you, Kathy. See you, Yvonne. All right, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. We've done our thing today, beat this subject to death. We'll pick this up again next week. Thanks, everyone. I had a great time today. We'll see you next time. Good night.